Good evening, everyone. Mazes okay speaking to us. I would have allowed the music to play on because the music is really giving me joy. Life, no balance. Indeed, life, this life, no balance. And that's a new music by Charlie Boy, Charlie Boy Oputa. Charlie Boy, he says, life, no balance. This life, no balance. This song was released um, 2 days ago on the 7th. Yes, this song was released 2 days ago. So you can head on to his YouTube and play that song. You know, again, for many of you who may also, if you're using Spotify, that song is on Spotify now. You may hear the song on the background. I'm actually playing that song on the background now, and I'm playing from Apple Music. So if you have a paid services on Apple, or if you're using Spotify, and other music platforms, you can actually, um, basically listen to that music. So again, I will say good evening once more, everyone. My name is still Mazi Ezoke. I am communicating to you this evening, Monday, the 9th of August, 2021. There are a couple of things that's happening, people. This evening, I'm going to talk about the court order for the final forfeiture of Rochas Okorocha's properties. And I will speak on Bishop Kukah's argument with the government and the way he knocked down Buhari. That is, in an interview he granted, okay, I would say the way he knocked down the presidency of Nigeria, not Buhari. Okay, I'll make that correction. You would understand when we start talking about it. And my final point will be this, the question if the Senate is actually planning to create more states. There is this rumor that the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is planning to create 12 more states. Now, I don't know how that sounds, but that doesn't sound like what the people want. The one would have expected them to debate on issues centering around how we should be governing ourselves moving forward. Like you know, people like me that have argued the revert to 1963 Constitution or revert to something close to Aburia Code that would grant the regions autonomy the way we have them in the United Kingdom, where you have Wales, Scotland, Ireland, and England. Or rather, sorry, rather Northern Ireland and England. You know, but the creation of states. Then I started asking myself, how would you ever actually come to the point of even merging? We should be talking about merging the states, not creating more states. How would you then manage them if the states are unable to um, if the states are unable to generate revenues for themselves? So how are we going to do that? And that's one of these things that we'll discuss this evening. But before I start on that, there is this sit at home today, and that was observed everywhere in the southeast. Obviously, it's one of those things that has actually split the Igbo nation. Now, I'll make emphasis here is about the Igbo nation, okay? The Igbo nation. So, or rather, someone could argue the southeast of Nigeria. It has split the people where some argue for and the others are against such. But let me, without delaying this, obviously you can see the visuals there
The
playing
seat
now.
of the government,
This
the
is in Enugu. I think this is a GRA Enugu. Everywhere
House of
were deserted.
Assembly,
We had
grounds, some
Aba, the
quarters
same thing.
offices,
Onitsha, the
and
same
these
thing.
are the
Almost
roads
everywhere.
of
Look at this
Enugu
guy.
on a
See, he
Monday
was actually
morning.
red and he just zoomed past it. He just convicted himself on camera. Jesus Christ! I mean, what's wrong with us?
Something has
See,
definitely
these are
happened
part of the things
here.
we keep blaming, but we appear to sometimes even do more than
These are
those
the
we
roads
blame.
of Enugu
That
on a
was a
Monday
red
morning.
light there. The light was saying
It
stop,
is total. The
and
lockdown
this
is
guy,
total.
and there was
House
no
of
yellow
Assembly
file or the green
on the
file to say,
lockdown
hey,
key.
you know, if there is no pedestrian and the light clears you, you can go. There was
This
nothing
is
of
the
such,
High
but it
Court.
was zoomed. But again, this is the only
Nobody
place that
here.
sometimes when I look
Nobody.
at this place in
Nobody
Enugu,
whatsoever.
it feels home because this is only place I have seen that appears to
Nothing
be
is
like where
happening.
human
All the
beings with
banks are shut
kilometers in
down.
between their skulls live.
Thanksgiving. Everybody
You
is
come
shut
to
down.
see other videos
All the banks are
like in
shut down.
Onitsha, where
All the
people would
offices are
actually
shut down.
come in front of
All the
their house
shops
and
are
dump
shut
their
down. Police
refuge, and you
stations.
ask yourself, what manner of a people
The
do
road
that?
is deserted.
Yes, the state has failed in providing in some areas in providing those refuse collection points, but sometimes I ask myself, if the state fail you, would you also fail yourself? Because obviously the state have failed you, they're not providing water, and you've been able to provide water for yourself. But when it comes to refuge collection, I think you can see that again. Watch, hold on. This is red light, obviously saying stop. Again, this is for the second time. Red light saying stop. This is another video. Red light. Jesus Christ. You know, and the guy just zooms off. He doesn't care. He will probably think, yeah, there is no one on, there is nobody on the road, so it doesn't matter.
Presidential
But
road
people, these things
totally
do matter. These
deserted.
things do
No
honestly
transportation.
matter.
Nothing.
We do not need to be
One or
lawless.
two kekes
So
just
why I'm showing you
driving
this
by.
is to show
All the
that
filling stations well shuttered.
there is compliance
Everybody.
where people did not go out. Okay, people didn't go out today. Now, it is something that has divided the Igbo nation, where some people are saying it wasn't needed, and others are saying it was necessary in order to make a point. Now, as long as these conversations remain civil, then we are fine because you know that's what democracy is all about. Some people would agree and some people would disagree on issues, and as long as these are civil arguments, no one is hurt, that is fine in my view. you know and when decisions are taken of such nature, someone should also have the right to make a decision, not imposed. You know, the things that we do must not be the things that is being done to us by those you call oppressors. If you
Popular
look at this video,
Ogui Road, Enugu,
this is still Enugu,
as
another
at
person. So you can see this is from
after
Ogui.
8
It
a.m.
means
is a
this is
total
around to
ghost
eight or after
city.
8 or to 9 in
Ogui
today's
Road is
morning. You can see
usually
that the
so
road was
busy. You
still
can see
very,
from
very
back,
clear. Normally,
front, all
Keke is
shops,
parked
lockdown,
everywhere, but
banks, and
sometimes you find it
everywhere.
difficult around Ogui
Nothing
to maneuver yourself.
is
Those of you
functioning.
who know Enugu
Enugu
very well,
is
that you might
totally
find it
shut
very
down.
difficult
You can
to
see.
maneuver yourself. Now, this is it. Why I showed us this video is to show that people, some on their own complied, some out of fear of what might befall them, and rightly so. There were some transporters who thought in their own wisdom, because the sit at home, according to report, had it that it was going to start around 6 in the morning. And these people thought, okay, if I'm headed to Lagos or if I'm headed to out of city, I could come out earlier and get to my destination before it starts. But sadly, report has it that some of those journeys didn't end well. And I will be doing a disservice to myself and to the great Igbo nation that I love so much if I do not lend and speak my mind on this matter. Hence, I have laid the foundation for the following. Now, if we look at these videos now, the next video that's going to play, it might start telling a story that sits very, very, or rather, that is very, very disturbing to me. And this is one of these videos. Watch this video here. Now, in this video, you will see, that's what I talked about before. Look at this street. Sorry. Look at this street. This is somewhere in our nature, obviously, where you have 5-story buildings, 4-story buildings, 16 flats, 20 flats, as the case may be. But look at the refuge dumped in front of cars on the street by residents. People, I don't know how we will be, I don't know how we will be living like pigs. Yes, these houses are nice. Yes, you've built these houses where government have failed to build any housing for you. But what on earth would make people be dumping refuge on the street in their own, as they say in Nigerian parlance, in their own domot? But now watch this video and watch what happened there. These are the streets. You have shops, obviously, as they build. Now there was people who sell shops, beneath these buildings, and one of them is the one that is open there, and this happened to the seller. Now, report have it that they've gone in there, destroyed the wares that individual sold. And I looked at it, I asked myself, evil thrive where people do not speak up. And when I look at this thing, you can see that food there that was being cooked. Maybe this woman, remember when we saw Oshomole? Now look at this here. This food by a restaurant was poured in the gutter. And this happened in Onitsha today. I spoke up when Oshomole called a woman, a widow for that matter, and said, go and die, because that woman was selling at the roadside to feed the family. That is tyranny of the elite. But must the downtrodden, must you and I oppress ourselves, even maybe worse than the tyranny that you and I are fighting against? Must we oppress ourselves as well? What justification on earth would make someone destroy this food vendor? Not to talk of other shops. There are many videos. There are ones that I can't even play on air. And for those of us who understand Igbo, the reason why I don't want to play this video on air is that because if I do, it's going to affect this platform. It's going to affect this channel because it will be taken down. I will be breaking the community guideline. And this video is this. I will let you listen to the audio. For those of you who understand Igbo, maybe it might make sense to you. And I will explain as this video plays.
Inside this vehicle now, they burnt about 2 people inside. Burnt to ashes. Burnt to ashes. Look at the bones. Oh God. Look at it. Look at it. Life. Look at it live. 2 people died inside this one. Look at this person.
Now, what you're going to listen next is apparently the 3rd person about to give up the ghost. And at this point, It breaks my heart. The reason why this breaks my heart is here is a man whom this morning did not know this would happen to him. He was macheted. He was brutalized. And he was begging. Listen to this for those of you who understand it.
And this one now.
Pay attention. You can hear his voice faintly.
Look at it.
Pay attention.
Look at it.
Look at Biko. And Nayo. This is a man on the floor. Watching this, this evoked the same emotions that I had when in February 2016, people were shot in Aba and they lost their lives. One of the times we visited the crime scene where bodies were dumped and human beings burnt. I spoke out. I spoke out because no one deserved to die in that manner. Their crime, they gathered in a field in Aba to pray, and they were shot with live ammunition. Their crime, they were singing and their bodies taken away. Some of them along Aba, Omahe Road, where you had the refuse dump. They dumped the bodies there. Go back to Njenje Media to search for that video. Tagged Aba Massacre. It is still on this platform. Because of that video, YouTube banned this platform for over 90 days. It became a legal battle. Eventually we won, and that video is still on YouTube. I did not stop there. Personally, as a human being and within my organizations, we took action. We took Nigerian government to court. We went to ICC, June 2016. We protested personally. When I say now, I'm saying personally and with my organization. German housing minister with the German foreign minister then, I was in Steinmeier. We protested, we wrote letters, we went. I have my correspondence with him. I have my correspondence with the British foreign minister then in 2016. Therefore, if the government in their barbaric nature does this to a people, and I spoke up, I have that same obligation to speak up when my own people does something as barbaric as what I have in this video to his own people. My brothers and sisters, this is not acceptable. It is not. Many of us we can argue all we want, but that people came out earlier before even the sit at home started, and these things happened to them. The same story is had in Nnewi. The same story is had in Uke, in Anambra State, Mbise, Onitsha. Now look at a man, listen to a man begging for his life, saying, "Unu save Onunu."
Oh God. It's happening in life in Mbise.
This is early hours of this morning. We must speak up, whoever was behind it. Maaz is okay. I condemn it in totality. And I say, may the souls of those who died in this senseless destruction, may their souls rest in peace. I find it absurd that even as we speak now, people are on the chat room arguing that people were told to sit at home. Why did they come out? Absurd. Absurd. Are we no longer living in a free society? Are we now acting like the Nigerian soldiers or whoever that will shoot a human being, waste a life because an election is being conducted? Sit at home, in principle, to make a point, yes. But for someone to lose his or her life so that what happens? Again, I say whoever was behind it, I condemn it in totality. No life needed, no property ought to have been lost. No life needed to have been wasted. That which we condemn others of doing, we cannot be seen to be doing so. In the philosophies of the great one, late Professor Chinua Achebe, in his book, The Things Fall Apart, he told Okonkwo, or rather it is written, Okonkwo was told, do not bear in hand in killing that child that calls you father. Do not bear in hand in killing that child that calls you father. I'll leave it there. Thank you very much. And that's my candid opinion. Thank you all. Now, before I get into my analysis this evening, sadly, I've taken slight time because, you know, that video was too emotional for me. That video was indeed emotional for me. Now, before I get into the next discussion here is obviously the discussion next is on Rocha's Anayochukwu Okorocha. Okay, so the report has it that Rocha's, or rather that you can see that here, Imo Court order final forfeiture of Rocha's property, Eastern Palms University. I mean, it's people are sent to govern. You know, these are things. This is no longer an allegation. It has gone through the processes of court, and the statement here reads: a state high court sitting in Owerri, the Imo State capital, has ordered the final forfeiture of all properties of former Governor Rochas Okorocha, gazetted into Imo State White Paper on Recovery of Land and Properties Belonging to the State, Njenje Media News report. So, if you always want to get the right news, authentic news, not fake, always head to njenjemedianews.com. Now, here, according to TVC, Justice Fred Njamanze, in his ruling, maintained that Senator Rochas Okorocha failed to give concrete and verifiable reason why a final and absolute forfeiture order should not be given in favor of the state government. The judge noted that there is no reason before it why the forfeiture should not be made absolute and final. Now, if you owned all these things, imagine Mazozoke owns a keke. I know how hard I worked, toiled to buy my keke, and someone says I should forfeit it. I'll go and grab you the receipt. But here, if you are unable to bring the receipt, sadly, the property in question is not yours. If the receipt is lost, at least I know the shop in our area or in Nkwane where I bought my keke. So I can always go back there and beg the shop owner. Now I'm just opposing it here, and it appears there is, this inability to provide this, and hence leading to this. As for those who have made the purchase on such properties, the court said they are at liberty to approach the court to prove their titles. However, the properties, as of today, have been returned to the Imo State government. There is this estate, the bills. Well, some people have bought it, and obviously, Imo State government has taken over everything. The properties. Now, listen to this. The properties to be forfeited include Eastern Palm University, Oboko, Royal Spring Palm Hotel and Apartment, IBC staff quarters, said to have been legally acquired for the purpose of Rochas Foundation College, among others. My take on this, reading this, I just keep asking myself, I don't know. It's I've listened to Okorocha many times say that he was well to do before he became governor. Who am I to say that? Am I the one counting? Am I the one counting money? To decide that it is true or that is not true. Hence, leaving things to go through the judicial process. And judicial process, here you come, you prove yourself. Obviously, a man of his caliber, a man of his stature, did I say stature? A man of his stature, molding status, should be able to afford a couple of sons and maybe good lawyers to defend himself. So it's not I do not think it's a case of not being able to defend himself. I think ample time and opportunity was given, sadly. Probably these things were not met. And that's where we are. Now, on the second part, is the following. Bishop Kukah knocks the Buhari's government. This is legendary. I love it. Bishop Kukah is always a joy to listen to. Anytime, any day. He had this conversation with Charles Amagolu. You know, Charles Amagolu, one of the finest brains again. I mean, these are people I admire so much. One of the finest brains, you know, he had this conversation with him, and he had the following to say. Have a listen.
We are in a democracy. Yeah, albeit a very weak, you know, with all the weak structures, with all the inefficiency, with all the deficiencies, it's not as if we are struggling to overthrow a dictatorship, or that we have a situation in which some autocrat is in power and we need to get him out of the way so that we can establish a democracy. It is that these things are happening in a democracy. And I think what is also significant and worthy of note is that things have just unraveled, you know, in the last 5 or 6 years since the coming to power of General Buhari. He didn't make Boko Haram happen, you know, but the fact that today the Northwest and North Central and literally the length and breadth of Nigeria has now been invaded by bandits and headsmen and killers and all kinds of people who have come from God knows where. And the fact that the government just seems to be either helpless or almost uninterested in dealing decisively, you know, with these people. This is what has added more confusion to the mix. And the contradiction here is that the president has blatantly pursued rather nepotistic, but also policies that show very clearly preferences for men and women of his faith. The entire security outfit now is in the hands of Muslims. The president of, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, who was a Christian, was replaced under very dubious circumstances. In the National Assembly, it was always the case that if you had a Christian as Senate President, you would have a Muslim as a Speaker, or whatever the case. But for the first time in the history of our country, literally every outlet is more or less been blocked because the Senate President is a Muslim, the Speaker of the House is a Muslim, the Deputy Speaker is a Muslim, the Majority Leader is a Muslim, and these are all fine gentlemen, but that's not the point. The point is that the level of anxiety among us as Christians and Muslims has exacerbated.
And Bishop Matthew Kukah, who you heard speaking there, joined
people that.
So, you know, obviously you had Bishop, that's the introduction to that interview, when he talked about in his words, if I rephrase it like former President Olusegun Obasanjo, he would say the Islamization of the Muslim faith of the government, you know, where in his words, the president, the Senate president, the speaker, the deputy speaker, blah, 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 all of one faith. And it has never happened before in Nigeria. Now, question that many would want to probably ask themselves, could that be one of the reasons why there is this increase in the heating temperature of the nation? Let's dive deeper into this analysis.
Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you, Jeff.
And just summarize for us what you said to the US Congress about Nigeria, which
for many of us who do not know, a couple of weeks ago, he was in America and he spoke to the US Congress, and that I think that was a caucus on, this Christian group. And he made some statements which ordinarily shouldn't have raised any eyebrow, because these statements were, in my estimation, statements of fact. But as usual, those handlers of the Nigerian president, media space, either through the inability to read, or that they read and comprehend, or no, but they read and miscomprehend, or that they read, comprehend, and just intentionally want to give out nonsense. But whichever the case is, you'll find out quite shortly.
Was construed as very critical of the Buhari government and had their backs up as a result.
First of all, I think in fairness to the president, he has expressed no objection to anything I said. And I'm sure that every Nigerian knows that on a good day, Garba Shehu, Femi Adesina, Loretta are on a wild goose chase, purely and simply on their own. And even the fate of Loretta before the National Assembly suggests very clearly that we are Femi Adesina or Garba Shehu in their exuberance to appear before the National Assembly for validation, they will be thrown out of town.
And these are all spokespeople for the president.
They have said themselves.
Oh, yeah. You know why I'm laughing is if you actually catch the drift of what he just said now, he just yanked three of them together, insulted them, squeezed them, and threw them out of the window.
Obviously, they're not speaking for the president, they're speaking for the presidency. The presidency doesn't exist, in any shape or form. So, and you can see from the things they say that these are people that obviously don't seem to have anything to do. And I don't blame them for that. But you can see metaphorically what they say is that there is a huge gap between them and the person they claim to represent. And I think that's why they very safely and cleverly opt.
But I think actually I would disagree with Kukah here. There is no huge gap, because if there was huge gap, the president, once the presidency comes up with all this manner of rubbish and nonsense that we hear from them, the president himself probably should come out and state the record straight. But so long as he keeps quiet, appears unable to come out and set the record straight, then he becomes not only liable, but he becomes also culpable in whatever vivacious nonsense that they deliver.
To speak for the presidency, not the president, with whom they have no contact. If you may indulge me, let me just give you 2 or 3 good examples. I've been on the corridors, let me put it that way, for a pretty long time. And I think I know a real presidential spokesman when I see one. And I give you just 3 examples. About 1992 or there, about 93, I called Duro Nabule.
That was the spokesman for President Babangida at the time.
Fantastic gentleman, fantastic journalist. And I said to him one day, and I said, look, if you want to see the president, how do you go about it? And he laughed. And he said, you want to see the president? And I said, yes. And I said, what about? And I said, it was after the condemnation of Zamani Lekot, and we'd been trying to, the Archbishop of Kaduna, the Bishop of Mina had been trying to see the president. It wasn't successful. And long story short, Duro Nabule said, look, President Babangida has always been, he's very fond of you, and he likes the things you say. So seeing him will not be a problem. I won't take you through the long story, but he made it happen. There was something that happened under Yaradua, and my friend Shegun Adeni was presidential spokesman. And I called Femi and I said, look, I've got a problem. There's something I need to say that must get to the ears of the president. And he said, send it to me, and I sent it to him. In less than 1 hour, Femi calls me, Shegun Adeni calls me and says, look, what you said to me is right now in front of the president. Next, my friend Ruben Abati, your colleague. It again is a long story, and this is part of the 2015 presidential elections. We were on a very, very tough period when between President Jonathan and General Buhari then, who had just won the elections, we were trying to negotiate a meeting, and there was just 1 more day left to the elections. We drafted, the chairman of the Peace Committee, we drafted a statement which was supposed to be read and signed by both President Jonathan and General Buhari. Unfortunately, General Buhari had gone for Tinubu's birthday ceremony and so on. We had barely an hour. And I called Ruben Abati. I said, Ruben, where are you? Because I'm trying to reach President Jonathan and I have to talk to him. And Ruben says to me, I'm somewhere, I'm not far from the villa. And I said, listen, I'm going to send something to you on your, and I borrowed, I think, somebody's iPad. I said, I'm going to send something to you. Please take it to the president, place it before him and tell him to please read it. Now, Ruben Abati comes back to me and says, the president has read it and he has accepted. In my view, I'm talking to a presidential spokesman who knows the president.
Oh, dear. Without, I put a disclaimer here, DSS, these are not my thoughts, but I think I overheard, like what he just said now, how he's been able to, he gave instances of 3 presidents and how he's been able to communicate to them through their spokesperson. But in this particular one, I can only gazette some guesses why it appears so. We were told sometime that, the case of ear infection, and we are also maybe, aside the question of ear infection, there is also this notion that if you had wanted to have the ears of the president, probably you should look for, you should have put your, whatever you're going to give to him in form of cartoon. Maybe if it was in form of cartoon, since that's one of the things he loves, obviously, that might get his attention. You understand what I mean by that?
Right now, what we have is a contraption. I've never, we have a media and publicity man, we have a presidential spokesman. You know the story better than myself. A presidential spokesman is supposed to be an amplifier of the thinking, the policy processes. And every day or every week, he should address a room full of journalists, explaining to them what government policy is and clarifying issues and taking questions. And may I ask you, when last did you ever see Garba Shehu or Femi Adesina sit down and address the Nigerian media over a government policy?
Well, so, let me ask you this then, because obviously those comments you made to the US Congress elicited a withering response from the presidency. Their statement accused you of castigating your country in front of a foreign parliament and that you were doing your best to sow discord and strife among Nigerians, and of course that accused you of making falsehoods. I expect that you've had a chance to look at the full statement by Garba Shehu, which has been published and is there for all to see.
I've read the statement. And for the records, Charles, and I need you to help me tell Garba Shehu, Lai Mohammed, Adesina, and everybody who speaks for this president to find a date, to find a venue, and to let me know. I'm more than happy to sit down with all of them on any good day. The point is that as...
What did you just say? You want to sit down with Lai Mohammed? Have you watched this? Have you? Actually, are you serious? Are you kidding me at this moment?
Lai Mohammed, welcome to the Casboy interview.
Thank you very much.
Why would Twitter delete the president?
Have you watched
When
it?
my 7-year-old grandson called me and said, Grandpa, tell me the truth. Why did they call you Liar Mohammed?
You still want you still want to.
if you read what I said, and after I finish, first of all, if you've been to any of these events, they ask us in advance to write not more than 5 pages. I wrote 3.5 pages. And as I said very clearly, I have a letter of invitation by the organizers of the conference. And these guys have no idea what the issues are. If you read my statement, after I finished we were asked to, no matter what it was you wrote, it shouldn't be more than 5 pages, but you have only 5 minutes to make your presentation. The document is before them. Now, I think that these guys rushed to make a statement without reading the text of what I said. And good journalism suggests very clearly, if you are really seriously a presidential spokesman taking on such a responsibility, you should have the decency to say, please, where is the text of this thing that Bishop Kukah said? Secondly, a conference of that magnitude is taking place in Washington. Even if you heard that Bishop Kukah is going to speak and you suspect my intention, you got foot soldiers in Washington. Tell them to go and listen to Bishop Kukah and hear what he has to say. These guys went out on a wild goose chase. I am sure that if they have a conscience, when they read my text, they are the ones who should apologize to me, because there's nothing that Garba Shehu said that suggested he either understood or had read what I said.
Nevertheless, what you said though is on YouTube. I mean, it was a virtual conference,
Charles,
so anybody
please,
can watch it and see it.
Please, I don't.
Now, here you have a people incapable of watching just 5 minutes clip of what he said. I don't want to pause and go back and play the video of what he said. Incapable of reading 3 pages of what he said, but went ahead, issued statement, and talking bunk.
Even have to apologize. Let them tell me one single thing that I said that I have not said 1,000 times.
Well, I have to be honest with you. I tend to agree with you, because I've watched your testimony in front of Congress, and I don't really see anything that's unusual that you have not said in the past.
Somebody said to, you know what somebody said.
I'm not entirely sure I understand. I mean,
said.
I'm not taking sides.
No. Sorry, I paused this, and I need to address this comment by Neka Akweze. He said Njenje is meant to be a media house. Yes, we are. What is this about not knowing what Okorocha's wealth was before office? Is this not the media job too? Neka, I think you wrote as if you just maybe jumped from the Mars and landed in Nigeria. You cannot accuse the media of not wanting to know Okorocha's worth. Sorry for those of you who probably haven't joined when I talked about Okorocha property and its future. Thank you very much, Papo Binnaonyedot, for the super chat. Now that's the first super chat for the week or for the month. I can't remember. But if I come back to Neka, please. You cannot accuse Mazezoke or Njenje Media or Arise TV for not finding out what was Okorocha's worth before he joined, before he became governor. Why? Very simple. The documents they call assets declaration that they submit, it's state secret. No one makes it open. If you do not have access to this document, if no one tells you about this document, you have nothing to report on. I'll give us an example. It was only late President Yaradua who not only did he make its asset declaration public, but the day he was sworn in, afterward, he made photocopies of his asset declaration, the one he filled in, not press statement, shared it to the press. Now, that is a man, when you talk about integrity personified. Yes, he's a Fulani man. Yes, he's a Northerner. But I say it, and I say it loud and clear, he was a man of peace. And he was a man who acknowledged that the election of 2011 that brought him to office was flawed. And he did everything humanly possible to ensure that the processes were changed. Sadly, again, we lost him. So here we are, Okorocha, yes, he filled this document, but this document is not a public knowledge. It's only if, as of the time Okorocha was going in, so you think if that Okorocha had these, these properties before he became governor, that he could not, he could not tender that in court. This is not a court of public opinion. This is not about Mazezoke and Njenje Media or anything or Arise TV, but this is a clear case, a court in his home state where he lives, where he was governor, saying that he has not been able to prove. Again, when things get to court, I no longer have sympathy on certain issues, because when matters are civil enough that someone drags you to court, you have an ample of time, especially if you're a person of means who should and who actually ought to be in a position to go defend yourself. So my good sister Neka Akweze, a very beautiful sister indeed. And I say to you, my sister, please, there is no data to work with. Therefore, we can only rely on those confirmed affidavit emanating and coming from the court. Thank you very much, and let's go back to Kukah.
But
let me tell you what. Let me tell you what a friend of mine said. And he calls me up and he says, "Okay, Bishop Kukah, the problem with you is whatever you say, you just throw red meat at these people." So, and I cannot understand for the life of me that are these guys just sitting down and waiting for Bishop Kukah to speak? And guess what? It makes me very happy. I believe in freedom of speech, but freedom of speech is not to speak irresponsibly. And I don't think that even any of my enemies can accuse me of having abused anybody or said something that is personal. And are these guys denying that people are dying? Are they accusing me of being divisive? What do you mean by being divisive? I have said from time immemorial that the policies, and you don't have to agree with me. When I'm convinced of something, I speak about it. Exactly. Not because I'm right, but that's my conviction. If new facts come, I'm happy to receive them. On these issues, I have said from day one, I disagree with the president. The nature and pattern of his managing diversity has left us divided.
Why on earth would you have the Yorubas who voted the president once, voted the president even when every other person was shouting, "This is bad market"? The Igbos, we are saying, we are traders. We know Taiwan, we know Chinese, we know fake when we see them. This one, now original fake. They were called names. But months later, after voting the same man that the Igbos and every other Nigerians that had gray matters in between their skulls told them not to, they came back and said, Oduduwa Nation. Now everybody is enjoying the music. And the music as it appears, question is, how come that the president has mismanaged the country that he inherited? If I ask him now, Mr. President, what do you think about your own government, Mr.
The government has failed to do its principal duty of protecting life or property of all beings inside its territory in Nigeria. And
so, not my mouth and I go here say the king mess. But again, be that as it may, for some people we say, whether you woke up in 2019, 20, 2021, or we say, welcome to the party is about to take off.
All right. Have you voted?
I'm voted, yeah.
Okay, so
I'm happy I'm voted, yeah.
Tell me your feeling after voting today.
Yeah, after voting, I'm feeling okay. What I want, I get it on the result. I'm getting the party I want is the one going on. Thank you for that.
What are you expecting from these people you voted?
I'm voted, they can do what you want, and then when they want, what they want, inshallah, we're happiness more.
So now, after 6 years of Buhari, are you not happiness more? Maz says, okay, I am indeed happiness more. What can I say? What can I say? They said there are people you cannot advise, and people listed them, a woman in law, and who again? Fill the blank. No be from my mouth, and I go here, I say, the king, mess, where they smell. Oh, thank God. Thank you very much, Laura Queen, the queen of the house. Thank you for that super chat, Laura. Thank you very much for that super chat. That is much appreciated. Those working behind the scene, under the scene, beside the scene, they all will be happy this evening. Anyway, so again, it's a Nigeria itself now wahala itself. But let's. I'm enjoying this conversation with Kukah anyway. I hope you are happy.
So to suggest by any stretch of the imagination that I, Matthew Cook, am responsible for sending out divisive, in what sense?
I think part of the problem is basically that you're a very popular, well-known figure. So everything you say gets a lot of attention across Nigeria and beyond. And therefore, it almost makes it imperative that they feel they have to respond to it. Please stay with us. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Right. We'll come straight back. You're watching.
So now, Papa Dot, you speak like in the other, how we know those that grew up in face me and face you, like myself, like my humble self, from the humble beginning. That's how we grew up. And ask you where you are. He said, I'm in the yard, not in the house, because you never have a house. We all lived almost like in warehouses. So he said, if in a same country, Bihar, hey, why? You people are wicked. Some people say Buharia, some people say in Abiaka. So he said Bihari would have been asked to resign after that speech, which, guys, come on. Resign in Nigeria. There are two things that does not exist in our lexicon: resignation and what again? Filling the gap. Not me.
Inefficiency, and that the reaction that we are facing is largely a reaction is the result of a state that is unable to deliver on its welfare. So going forward, I make the point that this president has made even interreligious dialogue very difficult, in part because of the illusion that has been created that Muslims are in power. The reality of the situation is that, in my view, 80–90% of ordinary Muslims in Nigeria just want to live a decent life. Exactly. And they're not concerned about who is doing what. So in the final analysis, really, it's a question of governments and President Buhari coming to terms with the fact that the country is falling apart. People are divided. We've never been as divided as we are now.
We have never been, in my adult life, we have never been as divided. I mean, we have these odd issues, crisis here and there, but not on this scale. Not on this scale. When in the 60s you had Operation Waitier, it was a political conflict that existed not even in the whole Western region, but in some states, certain areas. When you had the Plateau massacre, Plateau, it was something that existed in Plateau State. When you had the Mateseni, it didn't engulf the whole North. It was more of the old Gongola. So, but now in Nigeria of today, remember in 2011-12, getting to 13, there was these crises where pipeline were being busted like balloons at kiddies' birthday party. A man of peace. That's why I keep repeating this. For those of you watching me now who come back and say, oh, the Igbos, they hate the North. The Igbos, they hate the Fulanese. I would say, in 1956, people, a Fulani man was the mayor of Enugu. That's so much about the people that hate others. Now, you forget that in 2011, the Igbos again gave late President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua overwhelmingly their vote. Ask yourself for once, why is it that in 2007, 2011, 2015, and 2019, the Igbos have actually said no to President Muhammadu Buhari? The heat you're now enjoying in the kitchen, have you understood the reason why they've said so multiple times? Umezoke, Okadibo, Tunde Bakari, and Professor Yemi Osibajo twice, and they all said no. That's not hatred. That, for me, means a people that stand on certain principles of you love me, I love you back. If you don't, by your actions, by your words, by your demeanor, I wouldn't blink. And he got angry even the first time. Oh, they gave me 5%. How can you expect me to treat those that gave me 5%? Treat them the same way I would treat those that gave me 90%. 5%. Now, but here we are in the wrong percentages, and we are doing well. We are indeed doing well. But if you ask my good friend Alhaji Kazaure in the National Assembly, how is Nigeria behaving now? How is your economy doing? He will have the following to say.
It's doing like this. It's doing like this. It's blinking, shaking, blinking, shaking. So if not because of this strong man, General Buhari, it's about to sink in at all. Now,
oh, you see, Buhari has come to rescue the blinking economy. But are you feeling as the economy is being rescued in the heat of criminal activities? Let me not use a word that might be flagged. In Benue, he was asked, "Oh, what is happening, Mr. President? Where is your IGP, that is Inspector General of Police?" And the president said,
"I would like to use a different approach in the fight against insecurity, especially kidnapping, which is a big issue now, sir."
No, I have just seen the IG. I think he is still losing weight, so I think he is working very hard.
So anytime you see me, says, okay, I weigh 85. So anytime you see me weighing 77, 75, because, you know, I tall a little bit, I am sit put 2. 6 foot 2. So if you see me losing weight, if you see all these small muscle, they calm down, so you have to know I am working very hard. I am working very hard because I don't want to be like
our economic is doing like this. It's doing like this.
That's it, people. Again, let's continue.
People are dying by the day. The government doesn't seem to be doing anything to rehabilitate them, and so.
And Bishop Matthew Kukah is still with me in the studio. Thank you very much indeed for staying with us. I noticed that in your clip, one of the clips that I watched, that we played of you.
Sorry, before we continue, we have close to 1,000 people watching on various media platforms, and only have 34 people that have liked this stream. 2 people disliked it, but again, you know, not in the context of everybody liking, but again, I ask, what am I doing wrong? What are we doing wrong that we have close to 1,000 people watching, only that very few? Or is that it's so entertaining that you forgot to click the like button? Please do me a favor, click the like button, click on share with others. Just share on Facebook, follow and like the page. 2 things you just have to do. Just make it turn blue. You know that hand like this, make it turn blue. Just like it, share. On YouTube, again, I say like and share. We must continue.
Testifying to the US Congress, your focus was on what appears to be the religious divide. But a lot of people see the current divisions in Nigeria as more ethnic or tribal than religious. Is that something you agree or disagree with?
No, let me even explain to you, Charles. First, and this is the beginning of the misunderstanding. What I went for, the testimony at the US Congress, was on religious persecution around the world. It was a first leg of a much bigger conference, which lasted for 3 good days in Washington, D.C. I was invited to speak specifically to the issues of the persecution of Christians. Others were invited to speak about the persecution of Muslims, of Baha'is, of different groups altogether.
Even in China and so on. I saw that.
When a military friend of mine said, "Why did you not speak about the whole of Nigeria?" I said, "Sir, you are a general in the Nigerian army.
Speak about the
Should
army.
the president call for a meeting of service chiefs to assess their performances, would you, as chief of army, go and speak about the Navy?"
Or the bishop.
I wasn't invited to speak about religious persecution across Nigeria. I was invited to speak about what Christians were experiencing. Now, so that thematically, that's what the issue. And if you look at my statement, paragraph 15, I made the point very clear, and I tried as much as possible to navigate a very delicate footwork by making the point that, look, in all of this, first of all, I don't like the word religion and Christians in Nigeria, about Christians. I don't like.
Oh, someone, I've been informed that by Onyanimo that DSS is monitoring the likes. Okay, if that be the case, that DSS is monitoring the likes, let us like the likes so that DSS will have nothing more to monitor, because maybe them. If you're, it's only when few people are liking it that DSS might actually monitor who is liking. But let all of us hit the like button. In fact, the moment you hit the like button, you're hitting DSS on the head. So let's see how many people who are willing to hit DSS on the head. Or are you afraid that DSS will jump your fence the way they jumped your first fence? Are you afraid too?
It is imprecise, but it also doesn't speak to the issue of our common citizenship. It's only in this country people don't like die as Nigerians. They just tell you Muslims have died, Christians have died. I don't like it because it speaks to the failure of the Nigerian state to unite us under a common platform. So if you listen very carefully to the text, unfortunately I've not listened. I had to speak off the cuff because I couldn't read the text. So I don't know exactly everything I said, but there's hardly anything I said that I either regret or would take back. So if you take the conversation outside the context of what I was asked to speak on in Washington, I may have a beautiful voice, but it is of no use if I'm singing outside the choir.
No, absolutely.
So that's
but let's then talk about that question of religion and this seemingly endless conflict between Christians and Muslims. Is there really a conflict in this country? I mean, why does religion appear to be such a disruptive force in Nigeria? And this is something you and I talked about a little bit on the phone before you came here.
You know, Charles, this is perhaps I'm the first Nigerian to have written a PhD thesis on religion and politics. It's a Molotov cocktail, even on a good day. It's a topic nobody wants to talk about. It is inherently conflictual. Now, when you bring it to a situation in Nigeria, and look, I spent over 10 years as a consultant, to the Vatican on interreligious dialogue. What you're dealing with here is not a problem between Christians and Muslims. The first thing I say to people openly, listen, these guys, if you talk about the Muslims who are privileged or Christians who are privileged in any government, it's a tiny circle of less than 1,000 people. They stole from the last administration, they will steal from this administration and steal from the next administration. And they're just exchanging. When they are on their plane going to Dubai, they're not talking about Christians, about Islam and Christianity. They know that very well. The rest of us know that. Ordinary people have no idea. So they create the impression, and I've said to my Muslim friends, part of the difficulty, let's return to the scene of the crime. We know what happened. In 1999, when Obasanjo was elected, we know what happened in Zamfara. They called northern states, 12 core northern states, all proclaimed, adopted Sharia.
That's right.
Nobody came from anywhere to fight Sharia away from northern Nigeria.
Exactly.
But my brother Muslims in northern Nigeria must also now explain how and why the areas of intense violence are now coterminous with those areas where Sharia law was declared.
Listen, Bishop, you don't need to go too far. It's just like someone doing a quack record without any form of protection and expecting that 9 months later, result will not come out, isn't it? I mean, you started Sharia to hurt who? Because you had someone from... Listen, all of them, starting from the one, Yerima or whatever it's called, that time. All of them. Where are they now? All those people that started the Sharia, they are all on the run. They are on the run. That's why when I see, any semblance of any form in any shape coming towards my backyard, I begin to shout. Because any person thinking right will know that there are things you don't condone. At least you begin to treat them now. All this extremism, because eventually it metamorphosed and got into this big elephant in the room. They had, rather than provide governance to their people, they tell people to lie, you just brainwash people. Brainwash people. Tell them that Sharia is this, if you thief cow, you cut somebody's hand. If you see drinking alcohol, maybe short sleeve or long sleeve, I don't know which one they give. Yet the same person, I won't mention name, came to Bad Wittenberg in Germany. At least I know they talk to one, I know. When they want to go and drink, man, that man like whiskey, not even You know the whiskey, the one they put in DAF, the one if you mistakenly put that whiskey in your keke, there is no way you will not have an accident because that keke will be overcharged. It works greater than petrol. That's what the man consumes. Yet he's a Muslim. Yet he was a former governor. Oh, Thunder, where are you? I think Thunder is busy in the gym. If not to Amadio, all of you there.
It is because the Sharia that was declared was a political form of Sharia, not the religious. So what has happened to us in Nigeria is that the issues that are contentious have never been debated. You see, the South Africans, before apartheid ended, Mandela came out of prison, I think 11th of February 1990. But he did not become president until May, I think May 18 or 1995. But don't forget, amidst all this, all kinds of things happened. But the South Africans had 5 good years, 5 years, to debate the issue of what kind of society they wanted to create. Nigeria has never had that kind of debate.
Yes, so basically, that's a very interesting point. You're saying that the space for debate has been constrained or weighed down by politics.
There is that, but there is also the quality of people involved in this debate. And I don't mean disrespect.
I agree with
I
you.
was secretary of the Political Reform Conference. That was the closest I came to watching all this. When you look at it against the backdrop of what happened, roll the tape and go back to the United States of America, for example. The famous Continental Congress of 1787, you know, in which some of the key actors, some people like James Madison and Thomas Jefferson, who became fourth president and third president respectively. Now, it's very interesting that when there was talk about this conference to debate the future of America, the story is that James Madison was in Virginia, but his friend Thomas Jefferson was living in France, and he writes a letter to me, say, please, we're going to have this debate. Can you get me books about democracy? And he comes back with about 195 books for his friend. The intensity of that debate, and when you go back and look at the issue, that is, what kind of society do we want? Now that we fled feudalism in England, we've conquered colonialism by the British, what kind of society do we want? And you can see how much they borrow from John Locke on the whole question of liberty, freedom. It is there in the 1776 Declaration. We are committed to a proposition that all men and all women are created equal.
We've got a minute before we have to take a break, but keep talking.
So the point, therefore, is that we've never had a situation in which Nigerians have made up their mind about what kind of society they are proposed, to have. So we're now having a society of ethnic, religious, and other forms of alliances and allegiance. The critical question that this country has not resolved is, who are we as Nigerians? Exactly. We are Igbos, we are Yorubas, we are Christians, we are Muslims. And this is why the country has become a pressure cooker. And the violence and tension will continue because we have no clear understanding of who we are. We don't have a set of rights that we can say we are appropriate because we are Nigerians. So for me, these are the issues. The amount of intellectual depth that is required to sort out this whole thing
is not there.
It's not there.
Or at least haven't been given a...
No. It is there. It is there, but it's not been harnessed. That, sometimes I listen to this man, I'm like, I'm glad that, we have people actually who understand what is happening. I mean, we know this problem. Why is it that Nigeria is incapable to get it right? Get people, listen, people, this is something that could be done in 90 days, 90 freaking days, 3 months. Lock people up in the room, get them, sit down, get us something that will be subjected. Not that when they come out immediately, we'll begin to vote. No. There has to be like a campaign time where those who want Nigeria to continue will tell us the reason and the benefit of continuing in the new Nigeria. Or those who say, we want Nigeria broken, we don't want it again, we want total destruction, should also sell their ideas to the people. If we break it down and have Biafra Republic or Igbo Nation Republic or Oduduwa Republic or the Yoruba Nation or the Babarafa, whatever it is, that if you break it down, that this is the benefit, this is what it's going to do, not the lies, as it was in the case in England when they wanted to come out of EU, where you had Nigel Farage and some of them politicians going around to say, oh, if you vote exit, you're going to have so amount of money coming back into the NHS. But eventually it came out that those figures that they plucked out of nowhere were all lie and fake. But again, lessons are learned from elsewhere. You know how things are done, then you can begin to go ahead and do things differently. So in final analysis, what is it? Is very simple. There has never been a time, genuinely, people are asked, how do you, now listen to me now, many of you who are adults and who are probably married, when you marry your wife, when you have many of you in Europe cohabiting, now some people don't want to marry again, they say it's cohabit. In English, they're sweet. They want to cohabit or do whatever, before you start the equalizing of your whatever you are, but before you start, there is always this conversation in the other room. In the other room, when even if ear infection is very common, you whisper, how many kids do you want to have? I want 5. I want 3. You say, now you go born 3. I want 7. Now the other one say, oh, no, it's too much now. I go buy a trailer to carry 7 children. So can we strike a balance? Okay, can we buy an SUV? I mean, that is what you're working towards something, we want 3 kids, you want 4, and there is reason. You agree with your partner. Nigeria ought to be a marriage where you have your say, I have my say. We agree on something. Is that thing we are agreeing, does it mean we say, this thing no work? I don't like the way they do for as a room. He don't do them for 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 10 year. He never sent. Type, make it a go. Because this year sent. You promise me sent. You come inside the other room. You come out the send. You not send man. It could be. But you decide. Whatever it is, you decide. In making that decision, because it is not a union of 2, it is a union of close to, which I believe is a lie, 200 million. I believe we're not even up to 150 or even 120. But again, for argument's sake, because we like plucking figure, a nation that does not know the real data of our citizens, but relies on, they say, United Nations figure. When did United Nations count you? If you cannot count yourself, how can a man sit outside his house and say, oh, Paponia Dot has 15 children, whereas you only have 4 children? How can a man sit outside and give you such manner of rubbish and you accept it? The bottom line remains, when you do all these things, you now call your people, call the people. Come, oh, this is the option we have. Option 1, make it a break everything, make it a go. Like me. Option 2, can we get back to 1963? Now, 1963, we had 3 regions. Eventually, there was the 4th one, which was the Midwest. But today, we have geographical, geopolitical regions, 6, that many have argued it could become the realities of governance. You getting me? So when I say 1963 in current realities, that could be a direction. That's, people say, Aburi, lose confederation. People say the Westminster style, where you have Welsh, England, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. It could be an option. But in all these things, assumption is that you gave Nigerians 10 options or 6 options, 7, 3, 2, whatever. But not this one that you say Nigerians' unity is non-negotiable. Who you? Who you? If it's Odumejena, you say who you? Who you? Who born you? It's Kolo, who you? You can't do it because you have a people that ought to decide their future in a referendum that is not rigged. The people would have to decide in a referendum. Is that too much to ask? That's about nation building, and that's what Reverend Father, is it a Reverend Father? Bishop Kukah is saying. Simple and short. In all these ruffle, rigmarole, whatever. That's all. And to be explaining this thing and to say the sad part, and that's the part that gets me angry with the leadership of Nigeria, is that it's only when they leave office. See, this same Buhari now talking that anyone talking about restructuring doesn't like Nigeria. Quote me, save this clip. The day he will leave and go back to Zawara, once kidnapping happens, maybe, let me not say, once the bandit comes into his street, you see, because the way it is now, there will be a time bandits will be writing letter of invitation. We are writing hereby writing to inform you that we are going to come 1350 early in the morning, July 2025. Maybe he gets to a point, he will join the chorus. Oh, this thing is not working. But when you knew it wasn't working, and what were you doing to make sure it worked? No, it wouldn't, because you are in power. Power. People will say, power qua rafts. Absolute power qua rafts. Absolutely. Who I know? What do I know? Let me continue.
A chance to express itself.
Yeah, because you see, whenever we've had what they call constitutional, from 1976 right through till the last constitutional conference, if you go back, and I've checked the records, you will find that politicians the governors choose their friends, and they come to Abuja and plan for when the next elections will be.
We'll come straight back to you. You're watching the Arise interview. Plenty more still.
One thing Nigerians must actually know is that, listen, Nigerians are actually very tolerant. I must tell you. Look, English, unless you've lived in England, you might not, when you watch someone from Manchester, the north, you go to Liverpool, or you think you're in a different continent, even when you're in England. Sometimes even in Scotland, you might sometimes even find it difficult to understand the accent. But at least these are a people that have seen their differences, and in realizing and in seeing these differences long ago have agreed to stay in marriage under certain conditions. And these conditions are constantly being reviewed. Remember the election that saw David Cameron go out before, when he lost the election, when the Scottish people lost the first referendum. The election, or rather not when he lost the election, but election that brought, allowed the Brexit, campaign, when he thought he could use that to shut up Nigel Farage. But one thing is very clear, in that Westminster made concessions to the Scottish Parliament. Why? Because they were demanding for referendum. They were not being shut at. That's where we are today. Rather than do like Yaradua, when people are agitating, call them, understand why, make concessions, do some reforms, start some things. No, you only send the DSS. If they cannot shoot you at home, they will climb your fence. If you don't have camera, they will deny that they didn't come. Even when you have camera, like the case in Anambra State, they will still deny that they didn't come. You saw them all, they didn't come. Suddenly you are sleeping, your camera is recording ghosts, shooting somebody in your house, putting that person in the boot of your car, moving away with your car, burning that car, yet deny that they were ever close to your residence. And what manner of nation is this? And again, maybe to my brothers who think, oh, he's only breaking it the nation that would work. No. You see, it is against civil arguments to say this is the only solution. No. I mean, it's you're not making any argument. There are multiple solutions to save the day. In all these solutions, you come up, you now say, can we go back to the people? The people, the political class derives its power of action from the people. They derive the legitimacy to govern. Without the people, there is no legitimacy. So to convert this legitimacy to any decision is to go and ask the people in a plebiscite, in a referendum, or in a vote. So because sometimes it appears now referendum will probably in Nigeria become a word that might be, classified very soon as words being used by rebels or words being used by secessionists or whatever. But this is nothing else as to say, okay, before we get married now, how do we talk and do this? Okay, now we have married. We were married when we were blind, isn't it? Okay, your father and my father forced us together to marry. Okay, we don't marry now. We don't born children. But after some time, you ask yourself, okay, this was an arranged marriage. So how do we progress? How do we go forward? Are we going to just pretend that this arranged marriage is the best thing happening? No. People have to ask questions, and in asking questions, there will be solutions.
I don't know why you keep going back to. Look, can I give you an example? Frankly, I'm convinced I don't have a problem with the president. Right. I think he knows that. He has my respect.
But you mentioned the presidency.
Well, because these characters are not the president. And they've never said they are speaking for the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So I've downgraded everything they have to say because it has no authenticity. It has no, source.
Right. Shehu Gaba will not like this. Watch out tomorrow. He's no longer on Twitter. So if not, he would have started this night. But let's watch out how Shehu Gaba will react to this.
And like I said, I know a spokesman of the president when I see one. What these people are, they are not the president's spokesman. And as I said, they are honest enough to admit. But let me come back to the point. I'm a priest. I'm a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And I have said it many times. I feel very honored. It's not something I can say I'm proud of. From the time I met President Shagari in 1980, in State House, Ribadu Road, until today, there is no Nigerian president I've not sat down with face to face, not because I feel the foreman has to see them, except General Abacha.
Now, let me address some of these important points raised by some of you here. Ken Ribar says, those multiple solutions have been explored, and the only solution, in my opinion, is to go back to what they agreed. Again, this is a solution. I don't know how to say this. When we say the only solution, it means it's definite. You're not giving your opponent, you're not giving the other person the opportunity to also say, this is what I think, because it's only in civil conversations that, remember, it's give and take. Now, followed by what Olatunji Awofeso said. He says, sir, do you think the Igbos would accept regional system of government? That was what was agreed in pre-independence. The Lancaster Agreement, that these are going to be the region. There were three regions: the North, the West, the Eastern region. Eventually, there was a referendum again to create the Midwest region. So if the military under Gowon came in And in order to cut down the powers of the Eastern region because of the conflict brewing in the 60s, he created 12 states. Again, he is the one that started the bastardization. I've shared with us one time, I think that was with Obida Melafia, basically having this conversation. And I said to him, so does that mean that even in the time Gowon was creating 12 states, he was being used by filling the gap, and he didn't know that he was being used? Sadly, he said, apparently so. So if you understand that and see that from that prism, you begin to appreciate the fact that even when you talk about regional governance using today's reality, not everybody would agree. Hence, my argument, and hence I think a better argument is whatever the proposition is, it should be subjected to the will of the people. The will of the people. Listen, if you ask me today what I want as Mazes, okay, having reviewed, having lived on this earth enough, and having studied this nation called Nigeria, what do I want? Honestly, I've said this enough for many of you who write, where are you stand? I say, I would want us to go back to 1963, or at least something close to where, the way you have it in the UK, where nations can develop at their own pace. It's only when we had the regional government, that's how Awolowo was able to make those achievements that he did. That's how M.I. Okpara, the man I call the legend himself, was able to develop the East. The East at that time was the fastest, one of the fastest economy, not in Africa, not in West Africa, but in the world. One of the fastest economy. How come they did that? How come the Yorubas were able to get, argument has it that the Nigerian house today in London is formerly the Western Region house. So how come these things were done? How come it appears now we are stagnant? Because the structure is driving everybody nuts. The structure is inhibiting every one of us. The structure is not allowing us to go. I am a governor. I want to build, and I have a plan to build one of the best airports in 2 years' time. But the structure says I cannot. I want to build this airport so I can get my goods from China and get my raw materials out from here in seconds. But no, the structure says, no, you can't. It will take me 5-6 years to apply. One government is gone. Remember, just to upgrade, listen, this thing is suffocating. Just to upgrade the Enugu International Airport. 8 years of Buhari, he sat on it. He didn't. Why? He said that those who lost war cannot be talking about having an international gateway. This is what a president will look your reps in the eyes and say to them. It happened in Nigeria. It only took the man of peace, late Umar Musa Yar'Adua, who the same people that had gone to Obasanjo had gone to him, and he looked at it. He called, can't forget, I've forgotten his name, the aviation minister who is from South, not from Ebinima. He called him. He said, is it true that Southeast doesn't have an international airport? He said, yes, sir, it is true. And there and then, Yar'Adua approved for Enugu to be upgraded as international airport. Then look at it. Why would someone upgrade me? Why can't I do it myself? That is the anger. So when you see the youths being restive on the street, this is what makes them angry. Because why? This is no longer Nigeria of when people were not informed, when people didn't travel. Majority of these people are now split all over the world. They have seen the world. They have seen it. Many of you who have gone to Changi Airport in Singapore will know I have myself. In 2018, I cycled from one end of Singapore to the other end and came back. Cycling, using bicycle, one end of Singapore. That's how small. But when you hear Singapore and hear the amazing things they do, it's a small nation. When the people decide their future. Now, their airport is one of the best airports, yet is a small nation. Everything functioning. But here we build things that cannot even be qualified to. Bus terminal is an insult. It's not, cannot even qualify for village. You know, if you go to most of the European parks, you know, park cannot even qualify for, golf, where you have these little cars, you know, these small vehicles, electric vehicles. It can't even qualify for that, and we call them airports, and everybody's shouting. Again, why is these things happening? Because we have reduced our thinking for that omnivores. Yes, again, there are people who also argue that you need to counterbalance forces to have an equal force in Africa. Of course, there is reason, and there is reason to that. But to counterbalance force, to help Africa, project Africa to the world by a nation that will have the resources and have the human resources and the manpower to potentially, quote again, potentially project and protect Africa, then I will sacrifice my utter security because of that, quote unquote, potential of projecting the image of one super. Yes, some have argued in America, you have USA, in this you have China, in the other side you have Russia, in this you need a balance of power. Yes, I agree. But if we must balance the power, talk to me. I must agree to be part of that balancing of power. And I must agree at two. How do we? It's only when we agree that this is a way. Over time, those who have lost would come to terms, and we wouldn't at that point be working at a various, at various directions. We will now know. Imagine for 1 second where the proposition I have, 1963, where you have an Oduduwa nation in Nigeria, where the only thing that connects Oduduwa nation to Nigeria is defense. Oduduwa nation has their own internal security, their own police, or maybe, Omo Oduduwa, Moteku police, or whatever, I don't bloody care. But they protect the forest of Oyo. No invaders will come into the forest of Oyo. They come with, they have it, they approve, they do everything. The only time they will need the Nigerian military is when you talk about external aggression, that, Cameroon wants to invade Nigeria. What does Amotekun have to go and do with Cameroon? Because these things are divided. The nation's army will go. Imagine where the great Igbo nation becomes an entity of its own, decides that they want to build one of the best airports. They decide that they want to build railway network from Abo down to Ebonyi State, get it down to Ogoja, cross it down to Port Harcourt, and come back. Strategic partnership. In doing so, if Benue wants to plug in, once you get into Anambra, that the other one wants to get into Kogi and get into Benue, so be it. Strategic partnership. But today, I have to go beg Abuja that I want to develop this, and Abuja will say no. Hell no. For so long will that not continue, and that will be unacceptable, people.
But that's a different story. So I don't speak out of animosity. Guess what? Garba Shehu, where was he? He was working for Atiku. Atiku contested election against Buhari, so he knows where he was. Lai Mohammed, and I said to them one by one, I know where we were. I knew how much they held me in high esteem during the struggle against dictatorship. All right? And I said to my friends,
You have changed lanes. I'm still in my lane. And that people should come back now and appropriate General Buhari. These guys are defending their bread. They're not defending Nigeria. I'm a Nigerian. I'm concerned about this country. They are concerned about President Buhari because that is the...
You see, what he just said now is a smackdown. Basically, this is WrestleMania. Man, this bishop, see, that's what we're talking about. Calm, composed, giving smackdown. No one is shouting. But you see how he's just destroying all of them. That this man, Lai Mohammed, Garba Shehu, who was a 5 and 6, that he even was able to eat was Atiku Abubakar. But you see how they change. But again, there is nothing like consistency. The man has been consistent, and that's why he's able to say the things he's saying.
Source of their legitimacy and relevance. And I don't grudge them for that. However, it is our responsibility to remain in constant contestation with the state. Because, again, philosophers like Thomas Hobbes and John Locke, some of my favorite philosophers. Thomas Hobbes said, listen, should we trust the state? And he said, because he was born during the English War, and he knew what he experienced, he said, listen, what we need to do is to have a state, which he called the Leviathan, and it will have all the powers in exchange for our security and our freedom. John Locke said, no, human beings are fundamentally free and born free. And because his thinking was appropriated by the Americans, that's why you see in the Declaration, they said, we are committed to the proposition that all men are born equal.
Absolutely.
So what I'm saying is, President General Buhari knows, and I give you one example. When, I think May 29th, after, with the euphoria and the exuberance of a Redeemer has come, all our sins are going to be taken away. Now,
change
many people, I say to people, hold on. It's not like that. Let's be clear about where this train is going first. Nothing personal. I also knew the reflexes of General Buhari. But I said, look, all this thing about trying people and so on, we're in a democracy, for crying out loud. Now, when somebody called me and said, look, there are whispers in the villa. The people are not comfortable. And I said, who is not comfortable? They said, well, you are against the president. I give President Buhari full marks. I put a call through to the villa. And I got one of his aides. And I said, listen, I would like to see the president. I think I can speak about this open. I said, I would like to see the president. But if it's possible, I want to see him by 11 o'clock tomorrow because I'm leaving for Sokoto and my flight is 12. To my greatest shock, I mean, you don't ask to see the president but I took the risk. And the gentleman said to me, I'll get back to you maybe in about 2 or 3 hours because the president is very busy. And I said, fine. 40 minutes later, he calls me and says, look, I met the president. I told him we want to see him. And he also says his program is I told him his diary is very tight. But he said, the president said to me, you must find a space for Bishop Kukah. He says, come at 11. I said, no, I'll be there at 10, just in case there is a window. I arrived at the villa at 10. I'm in the waiting room at 10:30. About 5 minutes later, somebody comes and says the president will now see you. The pictures are there on television. And when I sat with the president, first thing I said to him, I said, sir, congratulations. And I said it to him, I said, I didn't expect you to win this election, but congratulations. He said, and then I said something to him, very frankly. I said, sir, I hear that you are not happy. There are things I have said you are not happy. Can you please let me know because I need us to clarify this? And I said it to him frankly, I don't want to distract your government. The president looks at me and he said something. I was touched. He said to me, Bishop Kukah, on any topic, I can tell where you stand. I'm saying so, not because he may not be angry or unhappy with me, but I think that I'm within reach. And if the president were to feel about me what these characters are claiming he's feeling, there are things he can do. And I'm here.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. That's very important. But let me move into the areas that you are noted for speaking about, which is, the problems that afflict Nigeria. Why do you think things are the way they are in this country? Why are we the way we are in this country struggling with so much?
So before he does that, let me remind, before he responds to this important question thrown at him, let me remind us that we are over 1,000 watching simultaneously on various social media handles, but our likes and our share are still not scratching it. Are you people afraid of DSS, or are you not having us? Do you want me to do the Niger Delta style now, where we can come out with iron pole and you do willy willy? Please do not do willy willy.
On the hour from Niger Delta Broadcasting Service. My name is Andrew Uweri Okere Ajapasa. Yesterday, some angry Warri Jaguda boys carried dangerous weapons like a cutlass, iron pole. I went down to the Borikoko oil facility. When they reached there, the security people vanished into the bush like willy willy.
So do you want to vanish like a willy willy? Mazi is here. Mazi is not vanishing anywhere. Not today, not tomorrow. Rather than vanish, I just finished voting. And how am I feeling after voting?
All right. Have you voted?
I'm voted, yeah.
Okay, so
I'm happy I'm voted, yeah.
tell me your feeling after voting today.
Yeah, after voting, I'm feeling okay. What I want, I get it on the result. I'm getting the party I want is the one going on. Thank you for that.
What are you expecting from these people you voted?
I'm voted, they can do what you want, and then when they want, what they want, inshallah, we'll happiness more, isn't it? So then please, I want to beg them, we suffer almost 10 hours we are standing because of what we want. We need change. And then the person we need, he's the one on the party we want, isn't it? So please.
So is the change, we need change. We need change. This party, this party, it's going to bring change. Because this party, I'm not lying. If
when my 7-year-old grandson called me and said, "Grandpa, tell me the truth. Why did they call you liar, Mohammed?"
See, did I tell you I'm lying? I told you I'm not lying. So if you want to know if I'm lying or not, you ask him. But be that as it may, let's get back to this important question that was asked, and you will see the response.
I've written extensively about this, and I've reflected also about some of these themes. Look, we didn't get to where we are by accident. This is the road we didn't take. And military rule didn't help our situation. Usually when I speak, the soldiers say to me, but the military has been gone for over 20 years. How come you guys can't get your act together? And I said, no, Danfodio has been dead for over 200 years. The impact of his jihad is still with us. Okay, the British have been gone for over 50 years. The impact of colonial, things don't just go away like that. Now, if you notice, the first generation of politicians, we have some really exceptionally brilliant people.
Yes, I agree.
Unfortunately, my argument, and it's my conviction, I may be wrong, but I think that had the military executed the war and stepped aside and allowed democracy to return in 1971 or 70, as the case may be, because we had some really fantastic politicians, we probably would have ground ourselves and managed to get things sorted out. The military stayed. The oil money began to flow, and we lost, the roadmap.
Yes.
Today we are stumbling and fumbling, and we've never had the patience to ask ourselves, how are societies organized? What really is democracy? Because we are conflicting all kinds of things. Here we are claiming to be in a democracy. We are looking for a role for traditional rulers, which is a return to feudalism. We are looking for a role for, it's a system that is only powered by moneyed people, which is a plutocracy. Okay, it is a system in which people believe that religion should play the most dominant role, which is a theocracy. So the fine principles of democracy require an egalitarian environment in which everybody should be able to feel free to express themselves. So the point is that we haven't given this a lot of thinking, and the politicians, the military didn't help matters, because we also had almost a teleguided transition. So technically speaking, we're not like South Africa. We never had a transition in Nigeria. We just had what Fela would say, an army arrangement. And I'm sure you know very well that by the time that the Abacha died, I think we were pretty clear about who was going to be who was going to be president. The founding, who was going to be president was already a decision taken. The founding of the PDP as a platform for wheeling that person to power was already taken. So that's why you find that we cannot conduct what you call elections. Okay? We do not have political parties. Ask yourself, in the last 20 years or so of this democracy, how many parties people have crossed from the president right down? People have been here, been there, been here, been here. So what you call political parties really don't qualify for that name. You know, they're just friendly associations, conveyor vehicles to carry our ambitions to the place where, you know, the stealing takes place.
Bagam, what you have is nothing but, you have nothing coming close to democracy. I was just telling one person the other time, look at, I think, Hakim, who has moved to APC. You forgot? Hakim, you had Hakim, what's this Ojus Okalu's party? P whatever again. Jesus, the one that is dead now. He moved from there, he moved into APCA. Into PDP. From PDP, moved into APCA. From APCA, he moved into Accord. From Accord, he moved into AP. One man. Is it the same Buhari? Buhari from AMPP. He moved into is it APP, then you have AMPP, then you have CPC, then you have APC. One man. Is it Atiku Abubakar? He moved from PDP to AC, from AC to ACN, from ACN to APC, from APC to PDP. One man. Many of us, we are fatiless, and we are still looking at you people moving. You go meet us here when you move from point A to point B. You still come and meet us here. Moving. All of them, name one. The rumor now has it that the former president of this nation of PDP is planning to move to APC. I say, shame, no, they catch one. At any level. Who is it? Is it Audi Oba? It's someone at that level that you became a national party chairman, and you still move. Yes, thank you very much, Ifeanyi God. PPA. Yeah? Somebody go from PPA. There is something P about all of them. They like P. That's why they like P. P, this, PP, that's PP, that's PP, the other one. Moving. Shame, no, they catch you. Sometimes when I shame, they live on, they catch me. Sometimes it's really heartbreaking and so insulting.
And so for me, we still have a lot of work to do in terms of even understanding the principles of democracy.
Right. But in terms of because I mean, you've always been seen as somebody who's driven by morality and a profound sense of justice. Do you think Nigeria is an unjust society?
Nigeria is a terribly unjust society. It is an unjust society. It's not just to itself. It's not fair to its citizens in various categories. It doesn't even have the architecture to make justice happen. Let me tell you something that your father's friend said to me, Justice Oputa. You know, he used to tell me quite a lot of jokes when we walked together. He said, you know, there was this guy who was walking on the streets of London, and he says, please, gentlemen, I'm trying to find the High Court of Justice. You know, where is it? And he says, the cleaner says to him, you know, just keep walking. You'll find the high courts. Whether they deliver justice, I don't know. the high courts. I like that. The point is that, you know, the struggle for justice is a contest.
Okay. It's gotten to a point he's speaking to all of us. I want us to pay attention. The struggle for justice, and I like this philosophical angle, it's, you know, is the struggle for justice is a contest. In the words of Patrick Obiago, is nothing else but Barackboism. Is a contest. Again, another wise person will tell us that in the heart of every agitation that you see, be it in marriage, be it political, civil, anywhere, lies injustice. So if we all know these things, let's take a cue from the following he has to say.
All right, but as it is, even at that realm, it's been elevated to a point in which you don't have the resources, you can't participate in that contest. And you know, again, that is the whole question, that
we needed to have thought about how do you create a house in which people with diverse backgrounds can come and find a place to settle. And this is why we are trying to deal with questions we should have dealt with a long time ago.
Right, but given that those questions have not been dealt with, we've got about 2 minutes before we take a break. How can that injustice be overcome?
Well,
and can the courage of people like you help to overcome?
Well, that is why.
So after this, we'll call it, we go to the issue of states, and I find it madness that we are talking about creating more states at this point in time.
People like my enemies, let me put it that way, who are trying to close the door are a greater threat to democracy, because the Kukah Center organized a fantastic conversation last week on the implications of the closing of the civic space, and you needed to have heard the voice of young people. It is that when people begin to fear democracy and its consequences, then they have no reflexes for democracy. So
Exactly.
for me, this is an intellectual exercise, and I keep saying to people, when Nigeria said they want a good man to govern them or a good woman to govern them, you don't need a good man to govern you. That's not what you need. You need a good man to be chairman of the parish council or whatever. But the president of Nigeria, for me, fixing the potholes, giving us electricity is not a moral decision. Let me put it that way. You don't need to be a priest to do that. Being morally conscious.
Even if you are an Amadioha worshipper, even if you are an Ogboni man, listen, there are basic things you ought to do. Do it. Who cares? Even if you're an atheist, listen, religion is something. But here we are being deceived. Oh, he's a Muslim, he's a Christian, he's this, he's the other one. But again, because we engage in this mundane argument, because they have failed in all ramifications to provide the basic thing that
helps. And this is why you have this superfluous expression of religiosity in Nigeria and getting very little results. People are praying so that they can steal successfully. People are praying so that the proceeds of theft can come to them. So you have a totally chaotic society, survival of the fittest, and really where we are today in Nigeria is evidence of period of gestation of all the terrible things that we have swallowed or left unattended to. Because you ask yourself, we are saying the bandits didn't go to school. How does it then happen that the guys who have come out literally with a cave mentality are the ones who are now holding the entire country to ransom?
That's a good question. And on that,
wow, that's I wouldn't want to finish that. You can go back to Arise TV and finish the whole interview. But before I do, because obviously we have taken time analyzing this, and I must thank you, and I do not take your, being part of this conversation for granted. Please subscribe, subscribe to this channel. Also, follow us on various social media handle on Facebook, Njenje Media. You can on YouTube that you're watching me, and on Facebook where you are watching me now, you can basically click on that like button. On Twitter, if you just type in search Njenje Media, you will still see us there. Most times we do also stream to Twitter once we are online here. So no one could say that we are not being, or rather that we are not covering all the social media. And for many of you who also have access to Clubhouse, you can type in Njenje Media there on Clubhouse. One thing we intend to do is that we basically new on Clubhouse. One thing we want to do is we want to start also streaming on Clubhouse, especially once we have some of these events coming up. And do bear with me, tomorrow I might also have the privilege to have Professor Nwala, the Alibo Development Foundation, chairman or president, to have a conversation with me, but I'm yet to have the final confirmation, but it's very likely that that's going to happen. But I will leave us with the following regarding these state creation, because I found it a little bit absurd. 2 days ago, these news broke that we're going to create 22 states, and I said to myself, what is that? what on earth were we talking about? We look at states depending on federal government for handouts, yet we want to create more states, to create more cucumbers, to run with convoys, run you and I off street. Just that's what we want to do. Let's listen to this argument. Though even the Senate has also denied it, that it's not the way it was reported, that, you know, it's the way it is. But in the midst of their denial, let us actually listen to them. Because again, one thing you know we do here is that we explore the truth behind the headlines. Yes, the headlines have told us 22 states, but again, just like Arise News have done, hence going to Arise News and getting these facts, and let's analyze this and see if we can make sense out of the whole thing that we might consider senseless.
And the Senate says its Committee on Constitutional Review did not propose the creation of additional 20 states to the existing 36. The upper chamber says such requests for the creation of more states were only referred by the committee to the electoral umpire, the Independent National Electoral Commission, to ensure compliance with provisions of Section 8 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria on state creation. The chairman of the Senate Committee on Media and Public Affairs, Senator Ajibola Bashiru, says he has refuted the claims, saying that the report is a gross misrepresentation of the decision of the committee on the request for the creation of more states.
Okay, well, the senator that refuted that report joins us now. Senator Ajibola Bashiru is the spokesman of the Senate. Thanks very much for your patience and coming on Newsnight.
Good evening.
How topsy-turvy has it really been, you know? Like the Senate, the National Assembly was rattled with the issue of the 20 additional states. Is it a mission impossible? I mean, is it not part of what the people are demanding?
We were not actually rattled, but I was surprised that some media can go to press with what I regard as a gross misrepresentation. We had here in this premises, Transcorp 3-day retreat of the Constitutional Review Committee of the Senate, presided over by the Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Ovio Magege, from Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And I think it was the closing day that issue of request of state was raised. And we were not only sitting as senators, we were sitting with our team of consultants, and we were rightly advised that Section 8 of the Constitution is the operating provision when it comes to creation of state and local government. We must make a distinction between general amendment of Constitution, which is provided in Section 9. Even at that, too, when you want to amend Section, you want to amend the provision on the fundamental right, you have to comply with special provision, which require 4/5 of the two chambers to agree to it. So when it comes to creation of state, it's not just by bill or mere constitutional amendment. The procedure spelled out. There must be a request supported by 2/3 majority of people in the area of the elected representative in the National Assembly and State Assembly of the area making the request. There must be a referendum. 2/3 of the people within the area to be carved out must agree to that before you can even talk of coming before the National Assembly.
It's a long process, like you have actually told us, going by the constitutional provisions as to how new states can be created. But I do know that the creation of new states is actually top of the priority of the Ninth Assembly. I do know that for a fact. It is part of it. I can, the evidence to prove that fact. I do know that we're looking at, the reforms and all of that. But beyond all of that, I want to look at the fact that in Nigeria today, less than 5% of the 36 states that we have are economically viable. Why is the creation of new states a priority at this time?
I think it's also wrong, with respect to you, to say that the priority of the Nigerian Senate or National Assembly is creation of state. Far from it.
I didn't say it is a priority. It's part of the priority.
It's not even part of the priority. Okay. I think it's very important to educate Nigerians as to the process of constitutional making. The constitutional making is not about what we as National Assembly only want. The procedure we call for memoranda from Nigerians and was submitted from all over the country on different areas. Issue of gender, issue of local government creation, issue of judiciary, and so many other subject matter. So state creation is just one of many issues thrown up by Nigerians, not by National Assembly. And of course, when that request is made, it has to be subjected to the requirement of the Constitution. I will not speak as to whether there's merit or otherwise in the request for creation, but whether there's merit or no merit, you have to comply with the provision of the Constitution.
But do you believe we need more states?
If you want to speak, you see, there's a difference between speaking on behalf of the Senate as an institution and speaking on behalf of myself as Ajibola Bashiru representing Osun Central. If you want to allow me to speak as a person, is a different thing, and I don't want to.
I'm asking you.
No, let please speak as a representative of the Nigerian Senate, as its spokesperson. How would you, juxtapose Governor Akeredolu's position that a new constitution is indeed needed, citing agitations from agitators about regionalism or the type of government they want, jettisoning the unitary government and the rest, and the position of legislators from the South together with their governors? We saw a departure from that when you were voting whether electronic transmission of results should be or not to be.
I think I must first clarify the falsehood and the mischief about the issue of the way and pattern we voted on electronic transmission. We did not vote against electronic transmission. We voted in support of electronic transmission in a way that ensure integrity and fairness.
Subjecting NCC and INEC to your whims and
caprices. It's not whims and caprices, with respect. Section Item 22, paragraph 22 of the exclusive legislative list gave the National Assembly power to make law as to election into the office of the President, Vice President, Governor, and any other offices created. Part of the prerogative of National Assembly is to determine the mode of election, the mode of conduct of primary, and all those parameters. Far from it, we have not taken any away from the fact that INEC has independence to conduct election within the framework of the law enacted pursuant to paragraph 22, which is made in pursuance of Section 4 of the 1999 Constitution.
Are you isolating Section 98 too, that gives it, there is a constitutional provision of INEC to determine how elections are conducted?
There's no such law in Nigeria, and I say this with all sense of responsibility and positional knowledge. I have a PhD in law from prestigious University of Lagos. So when I talk about law, it's apart from being a politician, I'm a legal scholar and I am a published author. On item 22, and I challenge anybody on the screen list, says elections. Election include mode. So when you pick an electoral act, what are the things you expected to be an electoral act? Mode of election, the section in question is just a subset of Section 52 of the bill. Section 52 prescribed the mode of election by open secret ballot and recognized that there will be electronic voting. But when it comes to transmission of election results, the Gaia committee came with a recommendation that electronic transmission of results where and when practicable. I'm a legal practitioner. Where and when practicable is not only nebulous, it is vague and gives a discretion that can be mischievous in the political context. What we said is this: the institution of government that can certify security and adequacy of network is the NCC. NCC is not an arm of APC, it's not an arm of a President Buhari organization. So if NCC cannot certify as to the certitude of security and network coverage, then what is fused about electronic transmission of results? So we are for electronic transmission, but in a way that does not allow somebody, that I will give you the mischief that could be created. I come from Osun Central. It could well be that INEC will say, when it comes to Osogbo local government, we can transmit. But when it comes to a federal year, we could not transmit. What a staccato system, unpredictable, indescribable in terms of certitude in an electoral provision.
Why can't we have the option of either of the two?
So Kelechi Akpong, I like anyone who is evil understands that last name, Kelechi Akpongko. Thank you very much for the super chat. I like, actually, that name got me thinking. Akpongko, like Akpongwa. Thank you very much for that super chat. But again, let's obviously the deviance here is on these issue of electronic voting. I mean, one could argue that one understands the point he takes in terms of allowing that electronic voting to be based on, if you can transmit, then go ahead. If you can't, then don't. Because if you if you ever do that, trust Nigeria, you will never, you will never get it right. Because remember, there was this lacuna where they said in the one part of the reason why Goodluck actually lost that election was when they said there is the if card reader doesn't work, you can fill an incident form. We know states in this nation that delivered millions of voters, and sadly, in those states, incident form were used because suddenly everybody started saying that this is not working and the other is not working. So again, if these things were not working, why did it work in some states and not here? So if you give them that lacuna, obviously, you can fill in the gap as to what to expect. Now, if I come back to the argument about state creation, let me share something for us here. I will read out the name of states here, because once these things are being denied, I would then ask myself, so does it mean that Maza Ezoke made up these names these names of states, so to say? Because obviously these were names of states that were made up, and if you're not a critical thinker, you might be maybe ignorantly swayed to the thinking that, oh, because some of the names of the state might appear to get or go in line with your sentiment. But the bigger picture that we must ask ourselves is the states, the current states now, with the exception of a very few states like Lagos, Kaduna, Anambra, Rivers, I think, with the exception of very few of them, not many of them can actually, on a very good day, be in a position to pay this. Now, these are the states in proposition here. So let's go through the list. And on that note, we'll be bringing this broadcast to a close. Now, we have the Etia state. Etia state is going to be carved out from Akwa Ibom. Now, the proposition here is that Federal Capital Territory will be given the status of a state, so that they will be getting monthly allocation as well. Now, pay attention, Akwa Ibom, that is SS, the South-South region is one. Then you have, let's say, North Central, that's where Abuja is. You have another one. We have here Okura State from Kogi State. Again, Kogi State is North Central, so that's making it two. You have Adada State from Enugu State, and that is SE, that is the Southeast. Adada is one. Gurara State from Kaduna. Kaduna is Northwest, then that means Northwest one. Then you have Ijebu. This one goes with some of my Yoruba brothers. Ijebu Gari, where they go have Ijebu State. That is going to be, that is obviously SW. SW is the Southwest, so Southwest have one. Then you have Ibadan State. Ibadan State is another one. You have Tiga State. Tiga State is, Northwest. In this case, Kanu. You have Gari. Gari State from Kanu as well. So Kanu will be broken in down again. So that Northwest already three. You have Amana. See? Amana. You see this one here? Amana and Gongola State. Remember, we had old Gongola where Taraba and Adamawa came out from. So it means Northeast will have two in this case. I mean, two at this point, which is Amana and Gongola, bringing back the old Gongola State again. People are moving forward but we love to drive backwards. Now we have the Mambila Plateau. That is the Mambila state that's going to be from Taraba. Again, remember, Mambila and Taraba is in the northeast. Savannah State from Borno State, that is obviously also, Borno is northeast as well. So that making it 4. You have Okun State from Kogi, and that is one small 1, 2, 3. That makes it 3 is going to be Okun State is Kogi. That's not central. You have Ekiti State. Ekiti State from the southeast zone. Sorry, Etiti State. My brain is already jammed. Okay, so you have southeast Etiti State. Etiti. Okay, so kids will be confused now of Ekiti and Etiti. Okay, so Etiti State from southeast zone. Orashi State from Imo and Anambra State carved out. Anambra is actually one of the smallest states in Nigeria, but it's still going to be carved out more and you know, put into that. That's going to give the southeast 4. You have Njaba State, that's going to give the southeast 5. You have a section of Aba State from Abia, that's going to give 6. That's if you don't know what the definition of insanity is, come and hear and see what insanity, the clear definition is. Here you have Anioma State from Delta, that is south. Well, in this case, then confusion sets in, because Anioma State actually should be a time to merge the lost ones of the great Igbo nation back to, well, not the lost one, sorry about that, okay, let's say the ones that was divided by the river Niger, to go back to their brothers from the other side. So the question is, should that now be southeast, or should that be southwest? South-south. But be that as it may, for argument's sake, let's say that remains south-south. Now you have a Toro. This state there, they could use and they cost people, because you know they say Otorobagidia, but this one is Torogbane. sorry, but this one sounds like Otorobagidia. This one is called Torogbene and Oyo River State now. Wow. Unanosi Betanian, Torogbene and Oyo River State from Bayelsa and River State. So that's 2 in 1. Torogbene, you now have Oyo River State. So making the south-south have more too. You know, then Anioma, again, like I said before, Anioma is obviously in Delta. Then Bayajida State to be part of Katsina, Jigawa, and Zamfara. So that means the Northwest will now have war. So people, what it means is the Northeast is going to have 4, Southwest 2, Northwest 4, Southeast 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, North Central 4, South 4. Now tell me, if you have not been able to fund states, and these states are all not viable, how and why on earth would you want to even for 1 second consider creating more state people? I would have wished that I would allow some of you to call in, but because we are now 2 hours into this conversation, sadly, I will not, but I promise another day comes that I would allow you to call in to air your view as to regards to if you agree with this creation of state, or you think, again, I can already see your comments in the comment section, because many of you think is madness squared. Again, in the words of Okorocha, I will say this is what I call Iberiberism. But me, I will add this is Iberiberism squared, because I do not understand this. And you cannot deny something that has names. Yes, it was discussed, but in order of priority, you create states, give people the referendum to make that choice, give people the right to make the choice. You know, what I would wish and what I would want is that if you give people the rights of referendum, if Anyama decides that they want to go away from Delta State and be a state, they should have a referendum. I mean, if the people decide, of course, they should have it. That's if Urobo Kingdom decides to move away from Delta State and be a state of their own, of course. They want to join, as some people would argue, their brothers in Benin, so be it. If they say they want to be on their own, so be it. If Ijaw Nation wants, I mean, you know, we have countries like Ethiopia that have referendum enshrined in their constitution, and no one up to now has actually abused it or used it in the way Nigeria fear. Because I don't know this fear. Oh yeah, if we give them this is going to happen. This is going to happen. Nothing is going to happen, people. We are indeed a dotted people. I am still Mazi Ezeke, and I am proudly on your dot. On that note, I will thank you very much for joining me, and do not forget to go to YouTube and listen to Life No Balance from my good brother Charles Oputa. I am still Mazi. I say good evening and thank you for being part of this. Kindly remember to like this video before you log out and share this stream. If you haven't, I beg you, subscribe to these platforms. You're watching me on Facebook, you're watching me on YouTube, you're watching me on Periscope. Just click that like button. As this life, indeed, as my brother said it, the life, no balance.